Setting expectations, setting the right goals is very important because I found myself too competitive. And from time to time, even when I won some competitions, if I didn't achieve my personal goal, I found myself winning in competition, but not satisfied enough.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel, and in media partnership with CTech. Welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders. Today I'm joined by Ilan Peleg, the co-founder and CEO of Lightrun. Ilan used to be a professional athlete who represented Israel in the biggest international scenes out there. He retired at the age of 21 and started his first entrepreneurial journey with his partner Leonid. They founded Hommyfood, which was a small Israeli startup that was acquired after 8 months of activity. From that point, they focused on becoming better developers and technologists, working in both enterprise environments and small successful startups. At the age of 27, he co-founded Lightrun, which is on a mission to becoming the best friend of a developer to allow him to observe, understand, and debug live applications. They raised almost $30 million from great angel investors, Glilot Capital, and Insight Partners. Ilan Peleg, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
I'm fine, Michael. What's up? Thanks for having me.
The episodes I love most are when I start them with the wrong fun fact and then I have to restart because I'm embarrassed. So now we're going to have a really great time. Ilan, you are the co-founder and CEO of an amazing company, Lightrun. Some of the most incredible investors, both angels and VCs, have invested more than $30 million in your company. You're helping developers gain observability into... All right.
If that's fine.
to help them and understand what's happening in their live applications. But more importantly than Lightrun, this show is about leadership. And you, as an entrepreneur, as a professional athlete, as a food tech entrepreneur, you've had so many experiences that I'm just excited in the next 18 minutes or so to pick your brain as to what does being a leader to you mean and what insights did you gain from your different experiences. And so, Ilan, it'll be my honor if you just walk me through your life a little bit and how you've experienced each of the experiences that you've had.
Interesting. So again, thanks for having me. Basically, a brief introduction about myself. I used to be a professional athlete back then. I represented Israel in the biggest, I think, international scenes out there. World Championships, Europe Championships, and I had some really nice achievements. I retired at the age of 21 and started my first entrepreneurial journey with my partner Leonid, my co-founder here at Lightrun as well, actually. And we founded Hommyfood, which was a small Israeli startup, a food sharing marketplace, a home food sharing marketplace back then in 2013. I think there was a huge hype around marketplaces in general, sharing economy. So we found an opportunity to take this approach into the food industry. After 8 months of activity, the business was acquired successfully, I would say, because it depends how you define success, I guess. We were only 21, so it gave me the opportunity to buy a new car. It gave me the opportunity to buy a small new car, but nothing except for that, financially, I guess. But I think the whole experience of working together with Leonid, establishing something, a real company from zero, building a product, it was pretty new for me. And this is where I got excited and I understood that I just love building stuff and like giving real impact. For example, I remember one of the childs of one of the cooks that we used to work for had a very intimate call with me claiming, hey, suddenly my mother is earning like between 5,000 to 6,000 shekels a month. And she didn't have any income before that. And she's doing that while she's enjoying from cooking. And it was very memorable moment for myself. And from that point, I think I started thinking bigger. on the other hand, when we just finished with this adventure, it was pretty clear for me and for Leonid that we still want to do things together. We still want to build companies, product together. But on the other hand, we started, in focusing like what should be the next thing and where's our competitive advantage, because it was pretty clear for us that food is not that thing for us. But on the other hand, we both loved development, developing, developer tooling. So both got pretty much experienced in the field, working in startups, successful startups, which some of them even were acquired, working in enterprise environments. So I think 2 years ago, we met each other again under, not as friends, but under this entrepreneurship hat again, and founded Lightrun, and now we are here. We're in the mission of, I think, becoming the standard and the best friends of developers when dealing with observing, understanding, and debugging live applications. So this is briefly
Incredible.
about myself.
So now I'd like to, pick apart and put together this journey from the perspective of leadership. So, you sort of brushed through the experience of being a professional athlete, world championships, running into entrepreneurship at the age of 21, I believe getting acquired after 8 months, having incredible, intrinsic motivation with those intimate calls where you learn that you're making an impact on individuals on a really intimate level. And now, obviously, with the success of Lightrun so far, take me back to the athletic part of it. What was that experience like, and how do you parallel that experience to perhaps some of the challenges that an entrepreneur may be encountering in their daily life?
I think when I used to be, there are some similarities and some things that were new for me, like as an entrepreneur. The similarities obviously is like, I think the athletic lifestyle taught me like self-discipline. Like you should
Mm,
wake up every morning very early. Even if you're tired, even if like last night you had a very hard session, and like you have a mission and you will do everything required to complete it. Everything. No matter how tired you are, how much you're suffering at the time being, you will just find a way to win. So I think this competitive spirit that I've got at a pretty early stage uh, taught me that it sounds very silly, but everything is possible. I remember myself um, thinking about very ambitious goals at the beginning of the year, and discussing these goals with my coach, and he said, listen, I think it's a bit ambitious. And I said, no, I'm gonna do so. And honestly, I don't think that most of the time I achieved these goals, but it made me work very hard, and eventually, when I compared myself to others, I think that eventually I won, because first there is setting the right goals, which I must admit that within time I became better, because from time to time I used to be super
right.
ambitious, right? And second, working very hard to achieve them. So in this, I think when we compare, this is the similarity. But within time, I found out myself when I became entrepreneur that sometimes you have people to manage, sometimes you have company, and this thing was pretty new for me, because I was pretty alone when I used to be an athlete, and here there's some humanity involved, right? You want to create a company where people enjoy work for, when they kind of accomplish themselves and their goals. So suddenly there are other ingredients combined as well. So these were pretty new for me. And suddenly your goals
Do you
are
find that
not
you're taking
only.
the same are you taking the same mentality for goal setting today? Is it sort of a practice already that you're setting goals that you may even know are a little bit more ambitious than perhaps feasible, but that just makes everybody work harder and you end up accomplishing so much more than you would have otherwise?
So you should find a balance, and this is something that you know, I'm thinking about each day, because from one hand you want to aim very high, and you want to have very ambitious goals, because this is what will eventually uh, assist us to strive, right? But on the other hand, you don't want to make fun of yourself, and you want the other teammates, suddenly you're not alone, to be aligned and to believe in this mission and to believe in these
Right.
goals. So I think my personal approach is I want to achieve something like 80% of the goals, something like that. Okay, so this is something that guides me. If I achieved less, maybe it was too ambitious. If I achieved 100%, so I'm a bit upset. You understand? So 80% of the goals that I'm setting, I think it's a good practice. At least this is how I see things.
I love it. Okay, so I'd love to spend the next 6-7 minutes or so before I have my questions at the end to talk a little bit about Lightrun and the founding story of Lightrun, more from also a perspective of, what lessons did you bring with you that helped you, give it a good head start, whether it be with hiring, with goal setting, with market validation. What was it about the beginning of Lightrun that you utilized your previous experience to move forward?
I think I started in a very engineering kind of point of view. Like I remember the first slide deck I prepared, and one of the investors gave me, I don't know if it's a compliment or not, but he said, "Listen, it's a very good presentation, but it's pretty obvious that you're an engineer." You understand? So I think within time, in this 2 years period, I kind of understood that if you really want to go big, you should focus on the high level picture of how market trends are evolving and how it will, like I think why now is one of the greatest and most crucial questions that you should first address with you, with your team. And unless you have a pretty clear and strong statement there, I'm not sure you have a business case and you have some valid idea. So again, I think the more high level the market trends, this is something that guides me through, the storytelling and approaching VCs rather than the very futuristic or the very product wise presentation kind of story that I imagined before, like when you just started. So I think this is
Right.
something that I taught myself in this journey.
And perhaps about, you're working, you mentioned you're working with Leonid, and so choosing the partnership, and what was the experience like working with somebody you've worked with before, went a different route, came back to converge together? Was it the same as before? Did you feel like you were just getting back into rhythm, or did you have to reintroduce yourselves to each other to figure out, okay, who are we and how are we going to work together?
Yeah, so I'm not sure it was clear, but basically we became friends at like during the first journey, and from that point we
Right.
kind of you know still being in touch for 8 or 9 years. So we were going
Yeah.
out together, we were dreaming together about other stuff, and we met each other under the same hat together with under this entrepreneurship hat. But everything was pretty smooth, simply because we knew each other, and I think the element here is the trust we had. I think trust is
Right.
something that nobody speaks about, or not enough in this ecosystem, but
Mm.
I see lots of co-founders and their dynamics. From time to time, I'm gathering together with some early stage entrepreneurs, trying to assist them within time, and I kind of examine the interaction between them and the dynamics. And like I think we have this kind of relationship when we can look at each other and kind of understand each other without even saying anything, and this is something that you cannot.
Like a married couple.
Exactly. Even if I know Leonid much longer time than my fiance, so yeah.
I love it. Okay, so Leonid, tell me a little bit about Lightrun and not Leonid, Ilan, of course. I feel like I'm already talking to both you and your co-founder at the same time. What, tell me a little bit about the pain point that you've understood from an engineering mindset about Lightrun, and where are you headed as a company?
Yeah, so in very, very simple words, we as developers, and I'm sure that you kind of feel the same pain, we just didn't have I would say, the proper way to really debug live production environments,
Right.
applications, and stuff. And within time, we all know that with the rise of cloud native applications, it simply becomes much more complex, and the gap between development and production widens. So it's much harder to
Yep.
anticipate issues in pre-prod, and eventually, when there are issues, it's much harder to reproduce them.
Sure.
So in a very simple way, I will just mention that Lightrun is here to, again, become the best friend of the developer when dealing with observing, understanding, and debugging live application. We kind of developed a developer native observability platform. This is how we call it. We simply allow developers to debug, understand live applications in the same simplicity they do with local application. That's all. So from their ID, from the CLI, from the other dev tools that where they source the code, they're being able to connect to live applications and kind of streamline or control or manage the same log lines, metrics, traces that applications generate to better create the image of what's the current status of the application. So we give developers the ability to control that during runtime and react faster, um, rather than the
And so
iterative
obviously,
process.
I do just want to mention quickly that, as you're mentioning this to anybody who's not an engineer, it may sound trivial and obvious that this is something that we need and that this is, but it's complicated. There's a reason why for the last 30 years where we've been, creating software, 40 years, we didn't have good tools to do this. And so that really is an interesting approach. And, the technological edge here is something really significant to a problem that, any developer will immediately say, hell yes, I need this, right?
Exactly. I truly feel that most of the developers we meet, when we just demo the product, there is this aha moment like, hey,
Of course, like a light bulb, yeah.
exactly. And this is why we aim very high. I think this is why we kind of succeeded during this 2 years period, because most of the developers, when we show them the product, they're feeling the pain at the same moment. And it's very easy in terms of messaging and positioning, because developers simply want this kind of product. So it's very easy to transfer the message. It's very easy to find the pain, which is very important when you're having startup company.
Definitely. So take me back a little bit now, even before you're an athlete in your childhood, what are you really curious about? What really sparks your curiosity as you go about your day to day?
I remember myself at the early ages very competitive. It was very important for me to be first at most of the things I've been doing, and within time, and this is a bit personal, but within time I also learned that I'm not gonna be the first at anything I'm gonna do. So it gave me two lessons. First, find these areas where you have better starting conditions or precondition or whatever we would call it. And second, again, getting back to the same point we started, setting expectations, setting the right goals is very important, because I found myself too competitive. And from time to time, even when I won some competitions, if I didn't achieve my personal goal, I found myself winning in competition, but not satisfied enough. So it's very holistic, but on the
Right.
same time, it's something that when I became more and more, mature within time, I started to understand that it's a lot about how you plan and how you kind of set the goals. So get into to basics.
I love. I have to say that I resonate a lot, and it's something that I'm working on with myself. And so I might pick I might pick your brain for some personal advice after this episode.
For sure,
But
for
what
sure.
what inspires you today in your day to day? Is it the entrepreneurship part? Is it the helping developers? Is it working with them? What is it about your journey that really inspires you?
I think I'm gonna surprise you here. I think my parents are my role models, actually. I think that what I love about them so much, and I try to adopt, is their humanity. And this is yet another thing that is different between being a professional athlete and becoming a leader. You have company, you have employees, and they're both smart and successful. But both of them, my father is a doctor, my mother is a teacher, and they try to be better every day, but not from ego or some like competitive purposes, but mainly because they believe that when they will be better, their patients, students will be better. And the same for
Yeah,
myself. When I will be a better leader, it's gonna benefit my employees and eventually the whole company. So I think humanity is something that drives me together with ambitious and other.
I love it. And if there are three words that would describe you, or less or more non-committing, what would those words be?
I think the first one is I think I'm a fast learner. I think it's a very important characteristic about entrepreneurship. I'm a hustler, and I think I'm hungry. I'm ambitious. I strive to be better at each day, and I work very hard to achieve that. So this is also the culture that I kind of try to to submit here at Lightrun.
Ilan, toda raba. I can't wait to see what happens with Lightrun.
Thank you very
Thank you for the
much.
inspiration and for the time. And stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you. See you. I hope to see you very soon in our office. By the way, you're very much welcome.
I'll take on the invitation. Thank you. Bye bye.